Hey, welcome back to the show. It's Katryn Rose, your favorite transformational expert here on the Win-Win Network. Anyhow, today I want to talk to you a little bit about my 4 pillars of transformation. Now, transformation's been a big buzzword for a long time. There are so many teachers teaching about it. There's wonderful ways to do it, and there's no right or wrong path, right? When I spoke on Clubhouse for a long time with my 2 friends, Crystal Master and Sandra Orndorff, one of the premises that we came from was that there is no one right path. So take what you want, leave the rest, chew on it, come back, whatever works for you. But I've been diving into this work for, gosh, at least 15 years, probably my whole life if you really want to go down to it, but more from a professional level and an intense intended study, at least 15 years. So recently I had the wonderful experience of spending time with my family of origin for a few days, off and on. And it showed me many things, some of which is where I still haven't transformed aspects of my life that I thought I did, because it really happens in layers or spirals, right? And it also showed me how far I've come in so many ways and how much I've changed. And sometimes the more we change, the more we stay the same, whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat. But what I realized in talking to people at different levels of consciousness, different levels of their own transformation, and even people who have no desire to transformation isn't on their radar, it's all good, right? But it let me see that, again, with the no one right path, no one right way, there's different levels. And what I like to do is work with people, with my clients or in groups, and meet them where they're at and offer different spaces or phases for that, which we may circle or spiral back into depending on where we're at, and just go from there. So I'm going to share my 4 pillars, and then we'll talk about them a little. So the first one is mindset. And we hear about this all the time. And that's where we start. The causal plane, we change things with the mind. The universe is mental, right? But that is tapping into the higher mind. But a lot of the focus is on mindset. The second layer, and this is something I talked about for a long time, particularly in my stint on Clubhouse, is HeartSet. This is really dealing with more of our emotions. And in the words of Kristen the Master, emotions are just energy, and we know how to work with emotions. But it's really tapping into those, for a lot of people, those painful emotions that trigger us and how to work through them, not stay stuck in them. The third layer is SoulSet. And the SoulSet is really like what I like to call the essence of our energy in who we are. And this is tapping into the energy of light and asking it to come in and work with us and heal us on multidimensional layers that are not possible from the mindset or even the heart set. And it doesn't make any of these wrong. And that's what I struggle with in the, let's say, transformational or healing space. People are just so fixed on what is the right path that they don't leave scope for the movement within all of these. And the fourth set is SkillSet. Now, whichever plane we're working in, whether it's the mental, the emotional, the soul level, each time, if we set the intention to take action, we're developing new skill sets. And our skill sets can evolve each time we work within one of these planes. So sometimes we're working in these planes and don't even realize it. Sometimes we're really conscious and cognizant of being in these planes and developing new skills. I think what's important is to allow ourselves permission to change our mind, to change our heart, to walk away from things that no longer serve us, to be willing to look at things from a different perspective and start, like, when you see a situation, it may look very different from the mental plane and in the heart plane and then the soul, the multidimensional plane. And then from there, each time we take a step and take action, we develop new skills. And it's the skills and the practicing of just being in life that actually create the lasting changes or the shifts. So it's not enough to just know. It's enough, maybe not enough, but it really to make the shifts, the lasting changes, to the doing, the action step, the engagement, the execution, whatever words resonate with you. So I'm going to bring my other laptop and read to you briefly a little bit more about each set. So ready, set, go. So the first one, like I said, is mindset. And so for simplicity's sake, I gave each a definition. So mindset is on focus on developing a positive growth mindset. The foundational step, and this is really foundational for a lot of us, it really helps with mental clarity, focus, with overcoming limiting beliefs, and fostering a sense of resilience. So those of us that have lived through a lot of trauma, resilience can be really powerful tool. And mindset is incredibly, incredibly important. But it's not where we stop. It is that foundational step to me for transformation. So the next set is the HeartSet. HeartSet, this addresses the emotional well-being and relationships. And this pillar emphasizes emotional intelligence, self-compassion, healthy connections with other people. So for a few years, I've been saying and expanding my own knowing and growth around it, that as humans, we are relational beings, right? And we know ourselves through other people, not in isolation. So there's times where we do a lot of this work in a group with a guide, and sometimes we walk the path alone. And again, there's no right or wrong way. It's just, where are you at, and honoring that, but really tapping into the emotional space and not denying that. And when I went through a coaching program that I finished back in 2013, we worked with David Hawkins' map of consciousness. That was the foundation of the coaching program for empowerment. And it was really about working with these emotional energies and acknowledging them, giving voice to them, but not staying stuck in them and not continuing to talk about the energy of them. How can we move through them? And that's, to me, what transformation is about. It's like becoming aware, shining the light through the energy of it. So the next level that I really began to develop for myself and have been playing with much more intently again for the last 4 years is SoulSet, and diving back into, and this is why it's a spiral. I looked at this 25 years ago, 30 years ago, I wasn't ready, or I was only ready for a certain taste of it, and then really worked in the physical and so much mindset work over time, and some therapy and some life experiences that really showed up as my teacher. But anyways, in the SoulSet, it's defined as exploring spiritual growth and alignment with your deeper purpose. So this includes practices that connect you with your higher self and spiritual values. And the truth is, and we've talked about this before, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. And the thing about the spiritual community is that when we align solely with that and the rigidity of that and feel like we are better or more expanded than other people who are not aware, we create and continue to foster a sense of divisiveness that we sometimes may, on one hand, speak out against. So the spiritual path, really, in the SoulSet for me, is about calling in the light and using light technology to continue to shift our mind and our heart and tap into those multi-dimensional aspects to ourselves that foster change at a deeper level. And what that, my definition of it, really tapping into our purpose and what did we come here to do? So when we tap into purpose and we go into maybe contemplation of it, not just meditation or prayer, but the space in between is contemplation. And I love, if you want to dive into this, Richard Rudd's explanation of this. I think he has a book coming out called The Art of Contemplation. When we go in and contemplate, and this work of transforming is releasing so many layers that no longer serve us, energy that's not ours, and moving through this, we can get to the root or the heart or the soul of who we truly are and what do we come here to do without it being someone else's energy or the collective energy of what do I want? When we think about the question, what would I love? What do I want? Where is that energy coming from? Is it coming from underlying roots of fear that we might not be conscious of ego, where it's just things and stuff? And there's nothing wrong with that. I was a desire map facilitator for a couple of years, and that is part of our own evolution. But when we tap into the energy of what would I love? What do I truly desire? What do I want? However, we're going to frame that. Stop and ask at the soul level, is it really me, my essence, wanting and desiring that? Or is it coming from a plane that doesn't really serve me and serve the greater good, if that's the path I'm on? So really this SoulSet level is getting to the essence of who we really are. One of the things, and I think I shared this last week and I share it over and over, a prayer of mine that I've been using for about a year and a half, I'd love to say daily, but a few times a week, let's go with, is from Paul Selig's The Guides. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. And letting that unfold and grounding it with being present. I am here, I am here, I am here. Or grounding it with the essence of who I really am. I am free, I am free, I am free. And even combining those, or I use those ending pieces at times, whatever comes out of my channel comes out as I ground into my truth. And as I use that prayer at the soul level, the things that I want, the things that I would love have really shifted. And so my question to you is, what layer are you at, HeartSet, mindset, or SoulSet, that you want to expand or explore right now? And there is no right or wrong answer. And that brings us to the fourth, right? The skill set. So the skill set is developing practical skills and competencies necessary for personal and professional success, right? It includes learning and applying and improving abilities that support our goals and applying things at each of these other levels: mindset, HeartSet, SoulSet. We can go deeper than that, but keeping it simple, we apply or sit with or allow ourselves to spiral through each of these sets, as I like to call them, or these pillars. It really starts to provide us with a balance to personal development that is both accessible and comprehensive. And it really, the structure, it supports our mental well-being, emotional well-being, our spiritual and practical growth without overwhelming ourselves or really overwhelming someone who's at the beginning of this journey. So how can we keep it simple and make it applicable to our everyday life? And so that's the next thing that I want to talk to. Instead of talking about all these things in theory or at the quantum level or at the, cool kid level, if that's where we're at, that's all good. But how do we shift our life in real time in 3D? Because the truth is, as we are shifting consciousness from that 3D consciousness, where it's more, how do I say this, kind of patriarchal, old paradigm. And in the world of the concrete, right, of stuff, to 5D, we're not going anywhere, but it's that shift in consciousness and how we approach things and how we see things that brings us to 5D. And what are the practical tools in everyday life that help us not just cope, but expand and live that fullness, of who we really are, to shine our light, to be the light. I mean, we are light beings. And as we peel back all the layers of everything that we are not, we live from that light more and more, more. And that's why that SoulSet level is so important. We bring in the light technology to help us. But how do these tools impact us every day? So as a coach, sometimes, or a healer, however you want to identify in that realm, we tend to attract people that are going through similar things that we've gone through. Right? I know that is totally the case for me. So I have tended to attract a lot of people with deep family strife, difficult issues, and challenges. And some say, let's not talk about that because we don't want to energize that. Yes. And acknowledging it and acknowledging where we're at and how that makes us feel, so we can shine light on those feelings, that emotional state, and then move through them. Because it's all just energy. Energy needs and wants to move, not stay stagnant. But when we're in that stuck and we're always talking about it, always focusing on it, that's where it does not serve us. So family dynamics and strife, and Sandra Orndorff and I talked a lot about this last summer, if you want to go back and look at some other episodes, can be challenging for a lot of us. And the truth is, we don't have to stick in that energy. When we work through the sets for ourselves and make the decision that we don't have to resonate in those energies, we don't have to stay stuck in those family patterns, we peel back the layers. And we start with talking about it, and start with light energy. We start with taking new action steps, but really it's that willingness to see things differently. When we tap into that willingness, we can ask ourselves, which level do we need to work at right now? Is it the heart? Is it the mind? Is it the soul? And just honor whatever comes up and work with that. And it could shift. We could go into different levels. I mean, sometimes we have to get hardcore into the physical, like movement and exercise and things that support all of those levels. But the family dynamics of deep trauma and deep pain, if we're not aware that we can move beyond it, we just stay stuck and repeat the patterns, repeat the patterns, repeat the patterns. It is that willingness to know that it could be different and set the intention of desiring it to be different. What would I love? And see what unfolds. Like, see what our next step is, our next set of working through something. I like the word set because it reminds me of going to the gym, right? When you go to the gym to strengthen your muscles, you don't just do an exercise one time. You do a set, 2 or 3 sets. So you might do 6, 8, 10, 12 repetitions, depending on your program, and do a couple of sets of those. So when we are working with the energy of the heart set, we are going to come back sometimes and work with some of the same exercises, tools, treasures over and over and over again till it shifts in us differently. So one of the tools that I learned many, many years ago from an angel healer, back in, I think I started working with her in 2011. We were working on forgiveness. And really, this is a lot of work at the heart level. And she was the first person to introduce me to the Ho'oponopono prayer, which I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you, I release you. And I've changed the order of the prayer, but that is the essence of it. And she encouraged me and invited me to use this prayer at different levels. And I would use it, but my ADHD brain didn't stick with it. Or I did it a few times, and I would go back and see her. And I said to her, her name is Kathy, Kathy, this prayer doesn't work. I'm still angry. My heart is still hard. Nothing's changed at the outside world. And she said to me a few months later, when I'd gone back to see her, I was like, you're going to have to do this prayer. Not have to, but she invited me to. Maybe 1,000 times. And it goes from the head to the heart. And so that's what I mean about the set or the repetition. I don't know if I've actually done forgiveness 1,000 times yet, but I can tell you in the last, how many years has it been? 13 years or so, I have spiraled through forgiveness. I have rejected forgiveness. I have prayed for forgiveness. I've worked with forgiveness on a lot of levels, and I have ignored forgiveness and gone back to it doesn't work. So we'll use it on different levels. And back in 2013, 14, I was working with a coach one-on-one who I recently reconnected with on a deeper level. She also introduced the Ho'oponopono prayer to me, and this concept of forgiveness in that plane. And I had told her, I said, I don't know if it really works. So she's like, let's try it. And that's where I ended, or learned to add the ending to it. I release you at the end. But we worked with it in a different capacity. We worked with it within calling in unseen forces to support. And at the time, it was the energy of Jesus, of Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, who I still call times, but I've learned to, maybe not learned, I have shifted to calling the energy of Yeshua and archangels. And although we don't need to call in these unseen forces, I have found on my journey, through my continual sets and repetitions of working with forgiveness, that it has helped me to call in unseen energy when I did not have the capacity to do it alone or myself. So these sets can be really important, and we spiral through them. And so I've done the set in the mental plane, and that's how I started with the Ho'oponopono prayer. I think when the angel healer introduced me to it, and she was a multidimensional healer, I only had the capacity from doing it at the mental level, at the cognitive, at the intellectual, and it wasn't seeping into my heart. As I shifted and changed and came back to it over time, it was able to go into my heart. But what I have found over the years, although that has been extremely powerful and transformative, I wasn't just releasing or forgiving things from this lifetime, that they were over. They were other lifetimes, they were ancestral patterns. And for me, and some of my clients with the triad that I work with, working at the soul level, the essence of our energy, working with the energy tools, the light tools, those were the things that really up-leveled the forgiveness, if you will, without trying to work at it so hard. So I'm just going to invite you to sit with this concept for transformation of sets, of working through the different planes of existence, the different energies, the different auric bodies, or the different fields that we have, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the auric, the ethereal, the Buddhic. There's different schools of thought. You will hear it in different ways, in planes, just because they come from different cultures. They're all similar in getting at that there's different planes and layers to work through. And so for me, I kept it really simple and broke it down to 4, because that's where it's at. And I think for beginners in transformation, that could be a really great place to start. And you might find yourself in the mental or the mindset for a really long time. And maybe that's all you'll ever need. And that's the truth too. When we talk about no one right way, no one right path, if you don't feel called to those other levels, it's okay. Just that's where you're at. And that's what I told one of my clients recently. Just accept where you're at and go with that. And work at that level. If you're interested in going to more advanced levels, I have options for all that. I put in the notes the SEER group. Kristen, Sandra, and I have a group that meets twice a month called SEER, Spiritual Exploration and Energy Roundtable. And this is for people that have worked with many of these tools over the years and just want to dive in deeper and just kind of have some cognitive discussion and experiential application around it, so that you're not alone in doing this. And then on your own time, you can go and just practice and explore and come back to the group. I work with people one-on-one. I also am going to be reigniting a very beginner group. That is forthcoming. You can check out katrynrose.com or email me at info@katrynrose if that's something that you're interested in. It's just taking stock, taking a breath, and asking yourself, where am I at? What do I really want to do? Do I want to start at the mental plane, the emotional plane, the spiritual plane? Or do I want to step into one of those right now? And what skills am I working on? And then am I bringing forth into my life to create deeper success in my business, in my work, to create more harmony there with my family? And the truth is, we know that what happens in our relationships in our life, in our primary relationships, really affects sometimes how we show up in our other realms. It's getting harder and harder for so many of us to compartmentalize, where we are and what we do in each realm of our life. So how we do one thing is how we do everything. And at some point, if we're not satisfied and happy and feel good in our familiar relationships, it's going to spill over and affect these other areas of our lives. So just check in with yourself and ask yourself, where am I? Where am I at right now? Next level question. Where do I want to go? What would I love? Who do I need to become to get there? And what is my intention or goal? And what action step am I going to do to take that? If you want to know more about that, I really break that up in my fire and ice process. This is the foundation of all my work. And I work through each set with that fire and ice process. So look more for that in upcoming episodes and talk about it. If you really want to work on any area and need support, hit me up. I am here for you. I've done it through all three of those layers multiple times. That's why I shared that story of forgiveness in the Ho'oponopono prayer. And I had the opportunity this weekend when I spent time with my family to see how I had showed up differently with them, softer, more compassionate. I didn't like some of what I saw, but I was able to stay in a sense of neutral and in love, and just hold space for whatever was showing up. And it did bring me some pain. What I've learned, I don't have to stay stuck in that pain. Like I could honor the painful moments that came up for me and that I witnessed in my mother, in my father, in my brothers, in my nieces. And just hold loving space for them and ask unseen energies to be with them as their journey unfolds. And it's not up to me to change their journey or do anything about it, but we become the observer, the witness to it, and just shine light and love and allow things to exist in their own way and unfold. And so practicing these sets and my own transformation really helped me show up in a much more powerful container, not just for my family, but truly for myself. And helped me move on to my next level, because I am going on a deeper journey in the physical 3D world. And I'll be sharing that here on the show. I'm going to be moving around the country a bit for a few months and then coming back to my home state as I grow and evolve. And I may have the opportunity to bring my 21-year-old with me willingly of his own accord, which is so exciting. I don't know how much I'll share about that because of where he's at and his privacy, but I'm just telling you, I've seen this ancestral healing unfold for me in the last year. The caveat and the truth, not everything is perfect, right? In what some of our expectations or family or culture or society would want, I can see the beauty in how it's unfolding and how the ripple effect is healing the hearts of the people that I love. And that in the relational being and in that heart center set is so important for me. But a lot of the work that's affected that has come at the soul, the energetic, the essence level, and working with the light technology. So if that's of interest to you, stay tuned for coming episodes and reach out to me if you need support. info@katrynrose.com. Thank you for watching.